Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, Timber and Animal here. So this is a brand new channel, and the focus of it's going to be, obviously, as the name implies, stuff involving metalworking, blacksmithing primarily, and woodworking. So the construction of this forge here actually entails both, because I've got some hand-cut joinery in here to make the framework of the forge, and obviously a whole lot of sheet metal fabrication work to make up the rest of it. So I just finished this a couple weeks ago, figured I'd start a new YouTube channel on it. My other channel, my name, Jens Davidson, is largely focused on other things that I do around the house, other hobbies. A lot of the focus has been cast iron cookware restoration, and those have gotten a lot of traction. But I figured a lot of my traffic on that channel is focused on that subject, and so I should probably just start a whole new channel from scratch. So that's what we're doing here. So we're going to focus this one on woodworking and blacksmithing, and maybe the other hobby, which focuses on antique restoration. So I like to restore antiques, kind of like my hand crank blower here. So this is a turn of the century, last century, 1902 vintage Champion blower that I restored several years ago. But anyhow, I like restoring antiques for the purpose of using them, putting them back to work. So you'll probably see some content along those lines. But for now, we need to go ahead and light up our forge here and get the fire going on a new channel, right? So I'm going to go ahead and walk you guys through how I start up a coal forge. So this is obviously, I was burning on it a couple days ago over the weekend. And so first thing I always do is I clean out junk like this, clinker. You don't need that because it actually doesn't burn, it just heats up and sucks heat away from the thing that you're trying to heat up. So we've got to kind of weed through the forge and get rid of that crap. It looks like, lava rock, just all craggy. It looks very different than the coal and coke that makes up the rest of the forge. There's another pretty decent sized chunk. And what this will do is as you're currently forging, this is a lot of impurities, not only in the coke, but it's also, if you're doing forge welding, which I kind of do a lot, that's a good sized chunk too. You're doing a lot of forge welding, you will, a lot of that flux that you use, which I use borax, will end up getting into it'll melt and start kind of mixing and doing some high temperature chemistry, and you build up this slag at the bottom of the forge where the air comes in, what we call the tweer, and it starts to eventually choke off your air supply, which is not a good thing in blacksmithing. So professionally built forges come with clinker breakers that allow you to, it's basically a lever with a sort of somewhat of a triangle shaped ball at the end of it, and what that does is it'll just agitate and break that clinker up and just send it down to the ash dump. But I don't have a high dollar forge here. I literally have a brake drum from an old Ford F-250 that I used to own, and there is no clinker breaker on this. So we're making do without. And if you're forging for a long period of time, all day long, you will eventually realize that your air output is not doing too great, and you'll have to take the forge apart, empty all the coal out of it, and get all that clinker out of there, and in order to restore your airflow. So the way I'm going to start this forge is with the old-fashioned method of flint and striker. That's how I always like to light my forges up, coal forge anyway, just because it's the old-fashioned way of doing things. So that's what we're going to demonstrate here. I have a flint striker that I forged myself out of '01 tool steel. It's one of my favorite materials to forge. It isn't easy to forge by any measure, but it is a fantastic steel for easy, foolproof hardenability, heat treat, etc. And it makes a fantastic cutting edge. Alright, so I think that's the last of it. So we got an empty fire pot. That's how I always like to start. And I've got here my bucket of tinder. So in it I have a piece of char cloth here, chunk of flint. I'm not going to use that one, I got a different chunk of flint here. And my flint striker. Just going to do a close-up on this. Hopefully it focuses, there we go. So, kind of a handlebar mustache flint striker. And let's go ahead, so in this bucket I've got a whole bunch of sawdust. It's actually from, again, the other aspect of my hobbies here is woodworking. So we've got turnings from my wood lathe. So the way I like to do this, I've got a nice bird's nest. This is from wood that I've got in the back. It's literally like shreds of the bark or something like that. And I like to hold my char cloth on top of the flint and just start striking until we get one of the sparks to hop up on top of the char cloth. There we go. And we'll put that in this convenient bird's nest. Sprinkle some sawdust on there, and we'll start adding air. And as you can see from the smoke, we're starting to get traction here. And action. Throw some more sawdust on there and we'll start getting a little bit of coke in here. You don't want to flood it with coke. You've got to give it a chance to start taking off. So I usually just add a little pinch at a time. Keep the airflow pretty constant. It's also a good practice to start this with hardwood, or frankly any wood. I didn't prep any, I got a whole bunch down there, but I got lazy. But I think we could do with what we got. Alright, so now the disclaimer is, if you guys watch 10 different YouTube videos on how to light a solid fuel forge, you're probably going to get 10 completely different approaches on how to do it. This is how I do it. And as you can see, it works. It works for me. So what I would encourage you to do if you're getting started in the hobby is to watch several videos to get several different perspectives on how to do a given subject that you want to go after, in this case, lighting up a solid fuel forge. And then just take tidbits from each of them, find out where the common ground is, and wherever there's common ground, probably a good indication that that's a pretty solid fact, and a lot of the other might be some opinion, maybe unique to that individual setup. And of course, you ultimately have to do the work yourself to figure out which method works best for your coal and your air supply. You know, if you've got a hair dryer that you're using, which is how I started, things are going to be a bit different. But I got a hand crank blower here, which I think is absolutely the way to go. I have used powered blowers even in demonstrating context when I was demonstrating at tractor and antique show fairs, and I hate electric blowers. They have a little damper where you can adjust the airflow and everything, but I absolutely hate them. Give me a hand crank any day. I can feather it as lightly as I want, or I can crank the heck out of it. I have infinite control over the airflow. So that's always going to be my recommendation. But anyhow, we obviously got a lit forge here. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up there. I've got a project I'm working on. It's a pro bono project, making a coat rack for a friend of mine. She opened up her own hair salon almost a year ago, and so I'm kind of giving this coat and hat rack for as sort of a 1-year celebration of her hair journey, is what her salon's called. So we'll catch back with you when I get going on a project that I'll take the time to dedicate teaching it and everything like that for a YouTube video. I probably will do a video on these coat racks because they're a nice simple project, easy to do, great beginner project, and something you can sell on Etsy. I don't currently sell anything on Etsy yet, but sooner or later. But anyhow, with that, I'd like to thank you guys very much for watching. Really hope you hit the like button and subscribe, and stay tuned to help me grow with this channel. And I really hope you guys learned something from it, and at the very least, I hope you're entertained. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye now.